There are very few games out there that can claim to be as genre-defining as the original Silent Hill. Released towards the end of the PlayStation's life cycle, Silent Hill took the skeletal framework of popular horror games at the time, like Resident Evil, and cut out the excess actiony fat and replaced it with a mix of cold tension and slow, methodical dread. The first 4 Silent Hill games were, and still are, leaps and bounds more mature than the majority of their mainstream peers, in terms of subject matter and overall atmosphere. So of course, as with any game series that becomes as big as Silent Hill, a new generation of gamers and game designers become inspired by the project and make their own homages to the series. But personally, I don't think many of them really quite stick what the classic Silent Hill nailed in 1999. Many of them, like Cry of Fear, wear Silent Hill skin but have different insights that make the overall product much different. It seems like a lot of people think that Silent Hill is just a game about battling annoyingly loud psychosexual fuckboys in derelict buildings.
Oh, God.
But sometimes less is more, and silence is golden. Enter Concluse. Based on an ARG of the same name, Concluse is, at least at the time of writing this, a criminally overlooked horror game that not only proudly wears its Silent Hill inspiration on its sleeve, but knows the source material inside and out, which makes for one of the most chilling games out there. So I'm gonna say this now, and this might seem weird, but Concluse isn't an overtly scary game. It's downright creepy. In my opinion, scary games are boo monster face games and glorified hide-and-seek simulators that go out of their way to put the player in an overtly dangerous situation to strike fear and panic in them. Think Amnesia: The Dark Descent, Outlast, or any other indie horror game that came out between 2010 and 2014. Creepy games share similarities with scary games, but take a more subtle, subdued, and less predictable route in order to set the tone. They're often slow burners that can make the player dread searching rooms and areas just with the atmosphere alone, as opposed to relying on some screechy boy with hook fingers to get the point across. If Resident Evil is a scary game, then Silent Hill is a creepy game, and Concluse knows that better than any of its peers. But before I divulge into what makes Concluse so essentially pleasing, I think I should give a brief synopodopolopolis on the plots of Dopodopolis. So, stop me if you think you've heard this one before. 3 years prior to the game actually starting, the protagonist's wife disappears off of the face of the earth, leaving their husband distraught until they come across a lead that leads them to some shithole in New England, where they're assaulted by my BDSM fantasies. Yeah, it's Silent Hill 2's plot. Hell, they even do a monologue at the start of the game, which concludes in almost the exact same line.
Could Mary really be there? Is she really alive? Waiting for me?
Caroline, could you really be here? Living in a place like this?
However, while the overall story motive and setting are pretty much the same for both games, they diverge rather quickly after the intro sequence. I won't delve into further information as to not spoil what is genuinely an interesting plot, but just be warned that the things that lurk within the world of Concluse aren't confined to it. While the plot's nice and all, it's not what makes Concluse so deliciously creepy. That honor goes to 2 things in particular, the first of which being the game's overall aesthetic. And no, I don't mean in that fucking trendy way, like, oh, the 80s, it's so cool, god, I fucking love Reaganomics, and I wish my dad came back from the liquor store, it's been 15 years, No, I mean more in the way the game feels and looks. And yeah, I mean, the other way means that too, but in a more specific way, and no, fuck it, you know what I mean. If you couldn't tell already, Concluse really aims to capture that budget game PS1 style. The game even goes so far as to cap the default frame rate to 20 FPS and the resolution to 472 by 319, which are some really subtle touches, honestly. And while yes, there is an obvious Silent Hill inspiration in the visuals here too, I honestly get a more Germs vibe here. For the unenlightened, Germs is a Japanese-exclusive PS1 open-world survival horror FPS game and a mouthful set in a sparsely colored town being invaded by aliens. Now, I'm not sure if the creators of Concluse did take inspiration from Germs, but that's the impression that I get here. Either way, though, these guys really nailed that PS1 aesthetic really well. From the low-poly characters to the heavily compressed FMVs, everything really checks out here. The only suggestion I would have to give is that the controls feel a bit too modern, and I would like the option to have that wonky-ass Kingsfield control setup, just for the authenticity. But honestly, that's just me being a bit greedy. The other thing that really sets Concluse apart from its modern contemporaries is its self-constraint. The game is entirely devoid of jump scares, and instead relies on more environmental storytelling and atmosphere to set the tone. The scariest moments in Concluse are usually the quietest. One standout moment in the game, at least for me, is when you enter a bathroom that has this odd substance on the floor that you can't really quite make out due to the low quality textures. You then read a note left by a kid from long ago who managed to get themselves locked in that very same bathroom. But they weren't alone there. Someone was locked in a stall, tearing out their hair from its roots and tossing it over the stall door. The note ends there, and you realize that the substance on the floor was hair, and that the stall is still locked. The scene is virtually silent, aside from the ambient noise outside. Best part about this scene? Nothing happens. Because nothing needs to happen. Most horror games post-YouTube often feel the need to have something spooky happen for the sake of having something spooky happen, usually to pander to that big Let's Player market.
Yo, what's up YouTube dudes and dudettes? It's your boy Moose Knuckles here. Pound it, yeah! Keeping it cool, keeping it chill. We're playing some Minecraft. I just want to say I love you all. I appreciate everybody being here. I make these videos for you guys and all of you out there, but I just want to say make sure to smash that like button. In fact, throw your keyboard at the screen. That's how hard I want you to smash it. Make your parents buy you a new keyboard. Yeah, but make sure to hit that like button and subscribe and give me your parents' credit card number, because as much as I love you guys, I can't keep making these really high quality videos without a lot of fucking money. So yeah, make sure to send me money and like all my shit and follow me and worship me and suck my dick. But yeah, we're playing some awesome video games and I'm just keeping it broed out, keeping it extreme and what? Oh my God! No, Grandma!
But Concluse's DNA is derived 100% from the classics from the golden era survival horror. From the dated visuals and low FPS, to the slow-burning atmosphere and surreal storytelling, everything screams PS1 and Concluse. Even the puzzles. Speaking about puzzles, though, solving them is what you're going to be doing for about 90% of the game. Now, I'm going to be real with you here, Chief. I usually fucking hate puzzle games. Now, it's not because they're bad or anything, it's just because I usually suck at them. Any of you who watch my Silent Hill free streams should know that by now. Granted, a lot of the older ones are cryptic as fuck and have their fair share of irritating bullshit, but a lot of the times it's just me being a dumbass. Thankfully though, Concluse's puzzles are neither savant levels of hard or piss baby easy. They fall into this nice middle ground that offers some challenge without making me want to tear out my pubes. At least for me, that is. A lot of the puzzles here follow that RE format of finding an item and using it here or there, but you're gonna get a few puzzles that require a little more thinking and backtracking than that, but it's never anything insane. Actually, there's this one point in the game where you get these really complicated list of instructions on how to get a plow to work, and I was honestly like sighing to myself thinking that I'd be stuck there doing this puzzle all day. But when you actually get to the plow, the character actually remembers what he read in the note and does that shit automatically for you. It's this kind of really nice bait and switch that I'm not sure was intentional or not, but it really got me to smile. As with my other videos, I like to talk about why I love a game and why I'm recommending it in the first place before I delve into some of the more negative aspects about that game, and Concluse here is no different. However, most of the problems here deal more with programming errors and glitches rather than intentionally poor gameplay design. Sometimes picking up an item can be a bit annoying because there'd be like this dead zone where I was clicking the use button but nothing was happening until I moved to the side or something. There was also this point where I was able to walk through the bathroom stalls in the later portion of the game. And speaking of the later portion of the game, there was this really odd glitch where I used the plow to remove a fallen tree, and I had to double back to this area for the sake of doing that side quest, and the tree was down again. So I went back to the plow, drove all the way back to only find that the tree was removed and that there was a doppelganger plow just ahead. Now I got out of the plow by where the tree used to be, and my plow all of a sudden disappeared, most likely being absorbed by its evil twin. Now, if there was one real problem I had with the general game design, is that I managed to get lost a lot during both of my runs through the game. That's mostly due in part to the game's overall color design being very muted and making some of the areas look the same. I'd also miss doors from time to time and be lost on where to go, because I thought I checked all the rooms in that area. I think this really could have been alleviated if they used a map like in Silent Hill that marked the doors that were jammed, locked, or opened. I know the areas aren't as big as Silent Hill, but they're still easy enough to get lost in to cause a problem for me. But then again, my sense of direction is terrible, so eh. But with all that said though, those are the only real gripes I have with Concluse. It's a short little introduction into an episodic indie horror game series that will be releasing in increments on Steam, and with the recent update on Concluse 2, it seems like we're really in good hands. For a game that's only really around 4 hours long, excluding some of the side content, this game really sank its meaty hooks into me, and I'm really eagerly awaiting the next part of the series. Now, if this game even looks remotely interesting to you, then I implore you to play it. I mean, what you gotta lose? The game's free on Steam and on the Google Play Store, which means you can play this on the go or at home. Also, if you get the chance, send your love to the guys who made this game. Small indie developers need support more than anyone else, even your alcoholic brother. Anyways, thanks for watching. And I'm really sorry that my scripted content has been kind of lacking this year, but I do intend to push out at least one more of these before the year's done. And it might be my biggest one yet. And I hope to see you all there. So long for now.
And